Hello, Kelly here from Room Pursuit. Today we are working on transferring text to our papers and backgrounds of our journals. So basically what we're doing is how to get those lines, images onto our papers to give it that extra effect. So I see it on a lot of papers that I have. Here are two that I tried that are two different types of papers. I don't know, here's an example of some papers that have that effect on them. So you can kind of see the little shadow there, the letters on. So I presume that is the technique, some kind of a transfer method. So I think I've come up with a pretty simple method for doing this. I've looked online at other videos, and this is the one that I think makes the most sense for doing this project. So I've made some in advance with the appropriate drying time. I did these with about a minute of drying time, but the longer you dry it, the better it the better, bless you, the better the image is going to be. Now we are really doing this so it looks grungy and distressed, so we don't want to do this process perfectly. So as you can see, when I did this one, if you look at as it's drying, I even rubbed off some of the base image. So and over here, some of the paper's still on there in this spot, or maybe I just rubbed off the base image underneath. So this right here, this is me scraping it off with my fingernail. That is the perfect example of what will happen if you do it with your fingernail. But let's get into the process because it's fairly simple. I'm doing it two ways. I am using the matte gel medium. I happen to have the Liquid Text brand. If you don't have this, and actually you shouldn't use the super heavy gel, it's better if you use the regular, which is a lot more liquidy than this is like a paste. So that's one option. The other option is to use white glue. I will show you that I have in this pile here that we're going to show and do an example. I've used both the white glue, which is a PVA, and then I also did it with the gel medium. So if you just have Elmer's school glue, this is not school glue, it's Elmer's glue all. I just refilled it in this container. Anyway, so it is not the washable kind of glue. That's just a little bit different quality. So anyway, getting to it, I have this piece of map, so I'm going to do this side down. So I'll go ahead and get my glue on there. And I'll rub it all around. And just so you know, if you have digital downloads and you printed them, this is really only going to work if you have a laser printer. How do you know if you have a laser printer or an inkjet? The inkjets are water soluble, so once you apply the glue, any kind of ink on there is just going to smear around, and it's not gonna work. I lost my squeegee. Oh, there it is, right here. So you need like a bone folder or a credit card or something along those lines, hard plastic piece to kind of smooth out the edges. That's very important to make sure you get the glue and all of that paper basically adhered to the surface. So there you go. So that one I'm going to set aside to dry, and then I'm going to do this one. Which did I do? Oh, I'm going to do this one with the gel medium, I guess. So I'm just kind of doing both here and there. And then you'll know, I mean, the process is the same whether or not you're using the gel medium or the PVA glue. So I'm not really sure if I haven't really seen an advantage yet to using the gel medium. So, but obviously it's a nicer product. All right, I think we've got a good area here. And now we'll use our card. I did notice that with this gel medium paste, it's thicker and it is not dissolving the inks that were already down on some of my papers, the way that the white glue was. So, okay, so again, you just make sure it's totally down. This is a lot flatter, but this is also thicker cardstock, whereas this is getting wavy right away. So, you know, that's something to kind of think about. Well, but let's put those aside. Okay, so now when you're ready to remove the paper part and you want the image to remain. Okay, so I've kind of divided these up so we can have a good sense of comparing the two. So in order to remove it, you want a really wet cloth. Some people use like a spritzer and rub it off. I think like the baby wipe works really well. You can also use a very damp washcloth and that works as well. So the first one I'm going to take off is the PVA. So that again is the white glue, and this over here is the gel medium. On this side they're the same type of base and they're the same type of paper. So the only difference will be the glue. Now this is time consuming, and if basically the more careful you are, the better the transfer is going to be. So I mean, when I did this before, this whole section was covered and only some of it stayed down. So, but you want the idea is you want to get all of that paper really wet, and that's when you know you're kind of, it'll be ready to rub off. So this was drying about 5 minutes, that was all. So not very much time at all. If it starts to get a little rough and gritty from the paper accumulating, then you just rotate that around to a different side of the baby wipe, because then that paper starts to gather, and with the baby wipes it kind of gets embedded in there. So I just keep switching it around. And this is just, I think this was these were book pages from an old Reader's Digest. So there we go. Now it's starting to come off. I probably have a little too much water right now. There we go. Now it's working. So I'm getting nice chunks off all of a sudden. Okay. And I mean, this was a very brightly colored card under there, so, and you just keep going until you're happy with the results. So now I'm going to do the gel medium. Yeah, these cards have a lot of that pink ink on it, and it's not Ranger, it's not Tim Holtz, it's not oxides, it's definitely like some I think it was maybe Stampin' Up. I can't remember. Kind of soak that. And this one was like a really thin dictionary paper, so that's what this one was originally. So I'm going to go ahead and start getting these wet and let that water kind of soak in. And this was the comparable one. So this is the gel medium, and that's the the PVA. And for me, I'm not too concerned if I, like here, I pulled it all off, but that's all right. And this one actually had a really neat image. It's got the knots, different types of knots in the dictionary, and they had the images of the knots. I don't know if you can see that, but those look really neat coming through. And I hope you can see that. I was trying to, you know, do this on images so that you could kind of see. Ooh, that's totally come off. So like I said, the more careful you are and the more you soak it and rub it in, the better the transfer is going to be. So I'm kind of doing this quickly for the camera, and frankly I'm not that patient, and also I'm not really interested in getting a perfect image. That's not my goal. So all right, so there you go with this one. You can see the lettering that came over and the knots here. So the lettering here, and the knots. So that looks really good so far. And if you feel like you didn't get it all off initially, then you can always, you know, go back, re-wet it, and it will peel off again. So it's a very, you know, what's the word I'm looking for? There's a little sailboat in here, so I hope I get that coming through on the other side, because I gotta take off this obviously two-sided dictionary page. So if the words are normal, then it's not all off. If they're mirror image, then I know I've got the right stuff, because everything going on here is mirror image. So if you're looking for the writing to come through, you know, for a header or something like that, this is not the project for that, unless you printed on your laser printer, you know. Some neat. Now, to be honest with you, I think the PVA glue is working a little bit better and easier for my quick and dirty getting the paper off. So basically, if you want to work quickly, like I do, you may have better luck with the PVA glue. So that's interesting. I wasn't really expecting that, but I wanted to try, you know, different types of paper, and this is that light dictionary paper. So and you know, all these are different types of paper, so you know, some of these glues might work better with different types of glue. Okay, let's see here. There we go. A little of that edge coming up. Whoop. I mean, maybe I could peel that up. No. Well, I'm probably off camera. There we go. Okay. Well, you're coming off. Yeah, I noticed that, yeah, this isn't sticking at all with the gel medium. That's odd because it did stick before to the other paper that I tried, but I'm probably trying to speed it along too quickly here and do it too fast. Or maybe it's the type of paper that I'm using. It's hard to say. And what happens is, and you'll notice this as well, that when you it starts to dry, then it'll whiten up again, and then you can see where you need more paper to come off. So that's what's happening with this one. It kind of dried, and now we just kind of go over it and take some layers off. And I'm kind of, this is a collaged piece, so I'm kind of taking off some other layers in the process. I'm seeing now. Okay, we'll let that dry a bit. See what happens. Well, that one's kind of a dud. All right, so this one worked okay. Now this might need another cloth. This one is high gloss, so it's gel medium, but it's high gloss paper, so it may need more water. I don't know how this is gonna work. This is like a newer glossy National Geographic book page, so I was just kind of curious to see what that would look like. But it looks like it's going to take a little bit longer to get it totally wet before. Hey, that's working pretty good actually. I don't know, maybe this high gloss paper will work the best. It seems like it is actually. Image is coming off nicely back there, so good to know. Although I do really like the font and stuff of the old paper. Ooh, that paper's coming off nicely. Who knew? And you know, I wonder also if those old book pages were ink. Which that makes more sense that the older ones would be ink and not laser jet, because, you know, laser wasn't exactly around in the early 1900s, but ink was, so yeah, we may have figured something else out there. All right, so yeah, that actually came across really well on there, so I liked that. That worked really well. All right, one more. Let's try this. And that was the gel medium. So the paper does make a difference. So when I told you earlier, between laser jet and ink, that seems to be quite accurate. So hopefully this image will come through. I really like the map idea on this one, and I initially wasn't too excited about the look of this card, so we'll see how she goes. So this was the PVA glue and a newer map paper, so, and it looks like it's doing nicely. And I had this like Inspire label on there. So let's see how this goes. And it's kind of light at this point. I feel like if I rub it too much more, I'm gonna lose the Inspire. So I'm not gonna rub that too hard, because I can always redo the Inspire part of it. Actually, this image came through really well. It had all of this blue on here on the map, and then coming too far out of frame again. Okay, and then all these lines for the roads, and then the circle blue of the names of the interstates. Not too concerned about this edge over here. And yes, I am consistently going out of frame, apparently, even though I have a little line there that says don't go over here. All right. Okay, so that's just a little technique. You can see there's a little bit of finesse to it depending on what materials you're using. Then it's slightly different between the paper, and the type of glue. So, all right. So that's kind of fun. I wouldn't call that necessarily pretty, but you just never know how this stuff is going to turn out. So you just try and wing it and see how it works. So that's fine. This one didn't work. We're going to skip that. This one worked kind of okay, but really, I mean, that ink is just staying on the paper and not on there. So I think that definitely was that older paper. Does not transfer very well, so that's good to know. And this one was dictionary paper. It did okay. There were some words that came through, but yeah, so that high gloss one did the best, and as you can see, it's starting to dry again, so it looks like we can do another layer. And as soon as we, wet it up again, you can just keep smoothing it out. All right. Okay, well, I hope you will give this a try, and so that you can get some of that look with your own journals and papers. So, all right, well, I hope you enjoyed this. I'm going to keep trying this and keep working with it. Maybe I'll have another video coming out and about this, and I will talk to you later.